everything, their homemade fudge. But anyway, but the house behind it where Mr. Ed lives has some experiences there. And Chris, you know, they didn't want a lot of people over there. So Chris and Steven actually went over, and, you know, Chris had his, Mr. Ed's wife, I can't remember her name. Pat?
I want to say Pat, yes.
In tears, you know, because, you know, Chris does have, you know, some psychic abilities, and, you know, she doesn't claim to be a medium or anything like that. She's a sensitive. And, right. You know, she sensed the energy, and she expressed what was going on in that room. And it's actually the room where her mom had passed away. Chris nailed the location, nailed the illness, the whole thing. And they were just so happy to have that kind of closure moment. And that's why we do this, you know, even at a public event, yes. Like, you know, people come for two reasons. They come for curiosity, but they come because they're looking for an answer.
I would say normally it's the answers that they're seeking.
Exactly. And I mean, we've been blessed to have so many cool experiences, and two of them actually involve dowsing rods, which, you know, that I like to, you know, I like to play with dowsing rods.
Yes.
And, you know, we show people how to use them. You know, I mean, when somebody comes on an investigation with Chris and I and our team, you know, it's not like we go, hey, this is the location. Go have fun. Go investigate. You know, we break off into teams. You know, you have one of our people with you at all time, or two. We'll hand you our equipment. I mean, I have people walk around with my SLS cam. We have people walk around with our thermal cam. You know, they'll use our equipment, you know, so that they get an experience and an idea how to use it. Okay, hey, I saw that on TV. Nobody knows how it works. You know, when we were at the Lord Baltimore Hotel, you know, I had my group in the speakeasy and, you know, section. And we were doing an experiment, and I had a gentleman and his wife there, and the wife started using dowsing rods, and she kept saying that she felt, you know, we were over the spirit box. We were getting a child kind of giggle. So this woman started to talk to this child, and she, you know, started to ask more specific questions, and it was a very personal moment. And the rods, she says, are you my child? And the rods spun like to give her a hug.
Wow, that's very emotional.
It is. I cried. I'm kind of tearing up thinking about it right now. You know, and that's the stuff, you know. You know, when I was at the Essex Museum, they do a tremendous amount. They give a lot of credit to the veterans and hometown heroes there at that museum. And upstairs in one of the rooms is a World War II uniform. And the gentleman's whose uniform it was, his daughters and son-in-law happened to be in my group. And we were doing a EVP section, and the daughter's name came through along with his name. And not his name, but his like nickname.
That's very cool.
And she wanted to know if it was him, and she said, "What's my nickname?" And it clearly came back and answered intelligently her nickname. And her nickname was Scoop. I mean, how would anybody, random. You know what I mean? Very, very random.
Yes.
But we started doing it. We were doing a dowsing rod session in there, and we said, show me your daughter. And I asked that question because there was two daughters there. And they were in two different locations in the room. And the rods split. And one pointed to one daughter directly, and one pointed to the other.
That is too cool.
So, you know, it's very interesting, you know.
Yes.
You know, and people do. They come for an experience. whether it's personal or whether, they have that curiosity. And, one thing that we love to do and why we, so many people say they love to investigate with us and they follow us all over the country is because we do allow them to have that moment and use the equipment that, the quote unquote, real investigators use.
Yes. The ones that get television shows and makes everybody think that that's exactly how you investigate. I have a question for you from chat. And to me, it's a very interesting question. I don't have any idea what your answer is going to be to this. But what's an investigation site that you never want to visit again, and why?
Who asked the question?
It was Brenda.
Brenda, that is an awesome question.
Yeah, I told you.
There is actually no place that I would say that we don't want to go back to. I will say, I mean, when you get into investigating and hardcore hardcore and looking for evidence and looking for answers, okay, the only way to do that and do it properly is to repeatedly go back to a location. Because you want to measure what you're getting, the evidence that you're capturing, and you want to measure against, previous experience. Now, you may go to a place and say, okay, I need a break and step away and not go back there for a little while. And that's only to kind of be as a gauge for what your findings are. But I can't think of a place that I would never, ever return to. Could you, Chris?
No, I go every place we've gone, I would go again.
Yeah, we get invited to many, many different places, and I mean they're all special and they're all unique, and there has not been one place that I'd be like, yep, not going back there. Not one, and I mean we've logged in a lot of investigations, but there's no place. Now, we're very careful, doing our background histories too on locations before we go out there, try to talk. And when we go, we talk to locals, about a location and kind of get the backstory on it. Because the locals like to talk about it. You want to get the whole feel. There's been locations where, we've talked to teams across the country. And, there's one, somebody asked us the other day about a location that's not too far from us. And Chris and I don't really know about it. And we said we don't know about it. We've never been there, never heard of it. And, share us, what your findings were about it. And then talk to a bunch of other people and they kind of confirmed it. I mean, you have people who are popping open bed and breakfasts and stuff like that and fabricating stories.
I have come across that. It's very aggravating.
And it is, and it kind of takes me back, and it's like, why would someone do that? I mean, Chris and I wanted to go to a theater in Vermont when we were in Vermont. When we go up there, and we're always looking for locations, and we're going to be going out there, this summer again, and we're going to be working with Katie Elizabeth looking for Champ and Steve Cole. And, we're going to have a great time doing that. We were out with Katie last summer. And it's awesome. And it's something that Chris has been trying to find since she's a little girl. But there was a theater there and there was a story of a man in a sweater and the whole thing. And we talked to all of the locals. Okay. Supposedly a jail in the basement of this movie theater. That was true. The man in the red sweater, not true. The guy made up the story so that he'd get more business.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. And I was like, why would somebody say that their business is haunted when it's not really haunted? So.
Well, I don't understand that either. It seems to me like you just get in more trouble and lose your reputation, and nobody would want to come because you were a great big storyteller.
But you know what here's what happens. Okay? Have you been to Bobby Mackey's?
Yes.
Okay. Bobby Mackey's one of the most. I'm sorry?
I have an opinion about it.
I'm just going to say this. The expectation of going to Bobby Mackey's is that you are going to have one of the darkest, craziest paranormal experiences of your life. True or false?
True.
If you go there and nothing happens, are you going to come back and tell all your paranormal friends that nothing happened?
I did.
Good for you.
Because.
But most people won't. But you also go with that preconceived notion that something's going to happen. So our mind then manifests things. Just like when we were talking about Kate's little Lily playing with her doll in the corner.
Yes.
People are going with the preconceived notion that they're going to see Lily.
Well, that's like, every place, though, experiences that. Even the Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, which is very haunted and has a lot of activity.
Yes.
Everybody expects to see the 7-foot tall shadow man, and they expect to, see this, that, and the other. That's not necessarily something that's going to happen. I did a live show from there, however, and had elevators that were not functioning and hadn't had power for years ding right behind me. So it does have activity. But people have to be honest about everything. And Bobby Mackey's, quite honestly, had nothing. There wasn't even energy that I felt. And I'm usually pretty great with that.
Cool.
So, or at least not the night that I was there. It may be haunted as the dickens all the rest of the time, but there wasn't anything there when I was there.
And again, it happens.
It does. Things, even ghosts get days off, apparently. So,
well, they're not circus animals.
No, they're not.
They're not there to perform. They're people.
Yes.
And
are people. People forget that. These are human beings. These are people that lived and loved and wept and made love and raised children and had their favorite desserts, and they're dead. And we need to remember that they lived just like we do, sometimes like we wish we did. And they had real pain and real joy. And with that, we're at a break. I'm so sorry. This is 2 minutes. We will be back. Thanks for your patience, and be sure you come back with Bill and Kristen Reap.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.